Grandma's husband betrays her, but her shocking plan for revenge leaves everyone speechless. Edith sat in her favorite armchair, the apple-patterned cushion hugging her like an old friend. The smell of fresh apple pie wafted through the cozy kitchen, mingling sweetly with her memories of 40 years of marriage. Each moment of laughter, the countless shared stories, the late-night whispers that lit up their small home, it all felt unmade now, like an unraveling patchwork. Then, like a swift dagger, the truth had pierced her heart. Greg, her charming husband, had been unfaithful, with a younger woman. The crackling warmth of the community around her suddenly felt icy, suffocating, as the whispers began. "I can't even look at him," she muttered, every word tinged with disbelief. Her fingers twitched, the pie cooling on the windowsill forgotten now. Each bite of betrayal lodged in her throat. There was Marjorie from down the street, who had mentioned seeing Greg at the cafe with a woman younger than their daughter, and Sheila at the church, with her narrow eyes and knowing glances. They were all gossiping, their voices like needles in her gut. Why, after all these years? The weight of it anchored her down. Yet something sparkled deep inside. A flicker of anger ignited. No, she wouldn't drown in sorrow. Oh no, that was not Edith's style. Betrayal was a thorn, but revenge could be sweet and so satisfying. The small-town community thrummed with life, sidewalks bustling with laughter and front, porches glowing in the golden light of evening. But Edith saw through the facade, observing the cracks in their smiles, the curious glances, the murmurs of sympathy, the way they pitied her. It made her stomach churn. She wanted them to know her pain, to feel the weight of Greg's betrayal. But she needed them to see her strength, too. Hints of long-buried family secrets began to swirl in her mind. Stories her mother once shared, whispered tales of old grudges and silent heartaches that had shaped their family. Who was Greg, really? Maybe there were more secrets hidden beneath the surface, and she was ready to uncover them. Determined, she sketched out her plan during the quiet hours of the night, her mind racing. With ideas, it wasn't just about hurting Greg. It was about turning the norm upside down. She envisioned unveiling his charm as a mask, revealing the man he truly was. Every laugh he shared with others would echo hollow. Every cooing compliment would turn bitter on his tongue. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, snapping her back. A text from Greg. "Can we talk?" She grinned mischievously, plotting her next move. Little did he know, she held the cards now. As she prepared her intricate trap, a strange sense of power began to pulse through her. This was her new reality. But just as she thought she was gaining control, an unexpected message popped up, one that hinted at a deeper betrayal, something that shook her to her core. Was he hiding more than just infidelity? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Edith stood there shaking as she read. The unexpected message on her phone. Her heart raced, a drum echoing in her ears. The thrill of plotting revenge suddenly dimmed as fear replaced her anger. Who could this be from? The text was cryptic. "Meet me at the old oak tree. I have something you need to see." She glanced at the clock. It was nearly dusk. Memories of her childhood adventures under that very tree flooded her mind. The laughter, the secrets shared with friends. Now it felt more like a haunt, a place steeped in memories, shrouded in shadows. She felt an eerie pull, like the past was coming back to claim her. With a hasty breath, she grabbed her coat and stepped outside. The cool evening air hit her like a splash of cold water. She walked briskly, her heart pounding, wrestling with uncertainty. This wasn't how she envisioned her evening. There was something about this message that felt wrong, but she had to know. The neighborhood was still, save for the rustling leaves that danced in the breeze. As she approached the oak, she sensed she wasn't alone. There was a figure, shrouded in darkness, standing by the trunk. The strong, familiar silhouette made her stop in her tracks. "Greg?" she whispered, confusion wrapping around her like a thick fog. But as the figure stepped into the faded light, she froze. It wasn't Greg. It was Marjorie, her old friend, and the last person she expected to see. "Edith," Marjorie said, and her voice trembled. "I'm so sorry. You have to know." "What are you talking about?" Edith felt her stomach twist into knots. "Know what?" Then Marjorie took a deep breath, her eyes darting nervously, and suddenly it clicked. "Greg, he's not the only one with secrets. I found out something about you." "What? What do you mean?" Panic bubbled inside her, tightening her chest like a vice. "Your mother, she wasn't the woman you think she was. There are stories, Edith. Dark stories. I think Greg was involved with someone connected to all of it." "What? That doesn't make any sense." Edith's voice trembled. She stepped back, trying to process the chaos swirling around her. "What are you saying?" Marjorie hesitated, her expression uncertain. "I can't explain it all now, but it has to do with your family. There was a transaction, some sort of deal made. It ties to why Greg cheated and why he's been acting strange lately. You need to trust me." Edith could barely breathe. "You're saying my mother made a deal? Do you even hear how insane that sounds?" "It's true. You need to dig deeper, Edith. There were whispers I overheard, things that have been hidden for years. It's not just Greg who's been unfaithful, but your entire family is tangled up in this. There's more at stake than you know." For a moment, the world stood still. The oak tree loomed above, bearing witness to a truth she couldn't yet grasp. Her anger dissipated, replaced by a chilling fear for everything she thought she understood. "Why would you tell me this now?" she managed to ask. "Because, Edith, it's time for you to know the truth, not just about Greg, but about your mother and the web of lies that surrounds you both. You need to decide what you're going to do with it." Before she could respond, the shadows shifted, and a loud crack echoed through the air. Branches snapped, and with a deafening crash, a large limb fell from the tree, barely missing them. Her heart raced as she stumbled back. She looked at Marjorie, who was equally shaken. "What was that?" "It's not safe here. Let's go," Marjorie urged, grabbing Edith's hand. But Edith hesitated, torn. Between the looming secrets and the fear of what else might be out there, one thing was clear. The betrayal was deeper than she imagined. She needed answers, but the questions only multiplied. What did she really know? And what would her mother's shadows reveal? As they fled the old oak tree, a single thought pulsed through her mind. The night was just beginning, and she was at the eye of the storm. What lay ahead was unknown, but she was ready to face it, come what may. As they fled the old oak tree, the heavy silence felt like a shroud wrapping around them. Both women stumbled through the tangled underbrush, the urgency of their footsteps echoing against the bark and rustling the leaves as if the very tree lamented their secrets. Edith's heart thundered in her ears, fear swirling with confusion. What had Marjorie just hinted at? A family tainted by dark deals? "Marjorie, wait!" Edith gasped, trying to gather her thoughts. "What do you mean by a transaction? What do you know?" Marjorie turned to look at her, her face pale beneath the silver light of the moon, breaking through the clouds. "I wish I could tell you everything right now, but we have to get somewhere safe first. You don't understand a danger." And then, without warning, the unforeseen happened. A loud scream cut through the night, piercing the tense atmosphere like broken glass. They both froze. It was a sound steeped in pain and fear. "Did you hear that?" Edith's voice trembled. "It's coming from the direction of your house." Marjorie's eyes widened, panic spreading across her face like wildfire. "We can't go back! They're watching!" But before either of them could decide their next step, shadows darted among the trees. Figures emerged from the dark, faces obscured, but intentions written in the sharpness of their movements. There were at least 3 of them, advancing fast, like wolves in pursuit. "Run!" Marjorie shouted, pulling Edith's arm with a fierce grip. They broke into a sprint, feet pounding against the ground. Breathless, they wound through the underbrush, the cool night air clawing at their throats. As they neared Marjorie's home, another horrifying scream erupted nearby, this time much closer. Instinctively, Edith slowed, dread creeping down her spine. What if it's someone we know? We have to help. "No, we can't!" Marjorie's voice cracked, her grip tightening on Edith. "We need to get away." In that moment, a bright light exploded through the trees, blinding them for a second. Edith shielded her eyes. The next instant felt like a punch to the gut. A familiar car rolled into view, its headlights illuminating the clearing, the glossy sheen reflecting against the frame. It was Greg's car. "Edith!" Greg's voice boomed from the night, desperate and frantic. "Edith, where are you? Please!" Marjorie's eyes flickered with confusion. What's he doing here? He shouldn't be out, not now. Edith was torn. Anger flared within her at his presence. But there was something in his tone that sounded urgent, real. "Edith, please, I need you!" Greg's voice cracked, panicked, echoing through the trees. Before she could respond, one of the figures from earlier lunged forward. "Grab her! Don't let her escape!" Heart racing, Edith's instincts kicked in. She shoved Marjorie aside and bolted towards the car, trusting the spaced-out headlights would lead to safety. The figures behind them closed in fast. The air thickened with tension. The stalkers gaining ground. "Get in!" Greg shouted, his eyes wild, his expression a chaotic mix of fear and desperation. As Edith leaped into the passenger seat, she looked back. Marjorie hesitated, clearly confused and scared, her instincts battling with loyalty. "Marjorie, come on!" Edith yelled. Marjorie darted toward the car, but she didn't make it. The shadowy figures reached her first. Edith's stomach dropped as she watched Marjorie get yanked back, her scream swallowed by the night. "Drive!" Edith shouted, panic ricocheting in her chest. Without thinking, Greg slammed on the accelerator, and the tires screeched as they shot forward, wheels kicking up dust. But as the reality of what had just happened settled onto her, an absolute incredulity gripped her. "Greg, what's going on?" she asked, breathless, gripping the edge of her seat, searching his face. He nodded toward the rearview mirror, where shadows shrank as they sped away. "There's so much you don't understand, Edith. So many truths buried beneath all the lies." The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with implications. "Then tell me," she urged, fighting the sob rising in her throat. "Not here, not now," he replied. His face shuddered, hiding something that felt dangerous. Everything shifted in that moment. The very fabric of their lives was changing. Edith's thoughts spiraled into a storm. Old secrets, shocking twists. This was deeper than she ever anticipated. What had Marjorie meant? What were the ties to her family? And how was Greg involved in it all? The night felt thick with deceit and pain, unspoken questions forming a barrier she couldn't breach. As the car raced down the dark road, every heartbeat echoed the uncertainty around them. Only one thing was clear. The truth awaited somewhere in the dark, and they were hurtling toward it. As the car flew through the night, the wind whipped through the windows like a wild spirit unleashed. Edith could hardly catch her breath, her heart pounding against her ribs. Greg's knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel, his gaze fixated ahead. Shadows from the trees danced on his face, flickering between fear and tension. "Greg, what happened back there?" she pressed, desperation coloring her voice. "You have to tell me what's going on." He let out a shaky breath, his straight jaw clenched tight. "I will, but first we need to get away. They could still be following us." Edith's mind raced with confusion. Who were they? Was it the figures in the woods? And what did Marjorie mean about her family? Just then, another scream echoed in the distance, colder and more haunting than before. It made her skin crawl. "Greg!" she shouted, panic slicing through the clammy air. "We can't leave Marjorie! She might be in danger!" He whipped his head to look at her, his eyes wild. "You don't get it! This is bigger than you think! Trust me, Marjorie will find a way to be safe. We need to focus on us now." The urgency in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Every fiber of her being urged her to believe him. But the thought of leaving Marjorie behind gnawed at her soul. The guilt was crushing. As they sped down the dark road, the air thick with unspoken questions, Greg suddenly swerved to the right, tires screeching. "Where are you doing?" she gasped, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We can't take the main road," he said, eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the winding path ahead. "There's a shortcut through the woods. If we stick to the back roads, we can lose them." Before she could respond, loud sirens erupted behind them, sharp and urgent. Blue and red lights flashed in the darkness, illuminating trees that twitched in the night. Panic rose in her throat, and she pressed her hands over her face, trying to block out the chaos. "Greg!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the blaring sirens. "They're coming for us!" "I know!" he shot back, desperation lining his features as he pushed the gas pedal harder, the engine growling in response. But then, just as it seemed like hope was slipping away, his phone buzzed on the dashboard. Against her better judgment, she seized it and glanced down. There, lit up in shocking clarity, was one name: Marjorie. "Greg, it's Marjorie! Answer it!" With a quick look, he made a split-second decision and reached for the phone, hitting the speaker button. "Marjorie?" he said, voice low. "What's happening?" I couldn't catch up." Her voice crackled through the speaker, each word trembling. "But you need to know. Edith's stomach twisted as fear punctuated every syllable. Marjorie, what do we need to know? Silence stretched, a tightrope over a chasm of dread. Your mother, she didn't just have secrets. She was involved in something. I don't have time. Suddenly the line went dead. Greg's eyes widened and he slammed the phone down as his heart raced. What just happened? Edith whispered, uncertainty clawing at her throat. But before Greg could respond, the car lurched violently to the side as something struck them. The world tilted, and then darkness enveloped them. When the world came back into focus, Edith found herself half lying across the dashboard, her vision swimming. The car was crumpled against a gnarled tree, the metal bent like soft clay. Greg, she gasped, panic wrapping around her chest. Are you okay? He groaned beside her, fingers brushing against his forehead, blood trickling down. His temple. But then he froze, eyes wide with realization, filled with terror. They found us, he whispered, his voice filled with dread. A figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the burst of the car's headlights. The air turned icy as recognition settled in. It was someone she knew, someone who shouldn't have been here. Hello, Edith, the figure said, stepping into the light. We've been waiting for you. Shock slammed into her like a freight train. Everything she thought she knew unraveled in an instant. The truth began to surface, like smoke on the horizon. Her mother's secrets, the betrayal, and now this terrifying confrontation. Who are you? She stammered, trying to make sense of it all. As the figure smiled, a chill crept up her spine. The night was only getting darker, and the looming truth, it was about to get so much worse. Hello, Edith, the figure said, stepping into the light. It was Eric, a man from town that she thought she could trust, but his smile sent a shiver deep into her bones. Eric? She breathed, shock coursing through her. She had never expected to see him here, especially not like this. What are you doing? Why did you follow us? Because it's time you learned the truth, he replied, his voice smooth, but edged with something darker. You've been kept in the dark for too long, not just about Greg, but about everything. Edith's head spun. What do you mean? What? You know? Panic laced her words as Greg shifted nervously beside her, his demeanor suddenly frantic. Your family has been involved in something far more dangerous than you realize. Edith, your mother, she wasn't just a sweet woman with a pie recipe. She had ties, deep ties to people in this town, dangerous people. He stepped closer, the weight of his gaze intensifying. And Greg, he's part of it all. What? How can you say that? Greg's voice cracked, disbelief flooding his tone. He glanced at Edith, fear and anger coursing through him. I've never been involved in anything. You're lying, Eric. But Eric's smile was no longer warm. It was predatory. Oh, but you have. And now you have to face it. He leaned closer, his breath catching in the stillness. Every secret, every lie. This betrayal runs deeper than you think, and it was just waiting to unravel. Edith's heart pounded painfully against her ribcage, her mind racing. Everything she thought she knew now felt like a ghost, haunting her. What are you talking about? She whispered, her voice trembling. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the night. A group of shadows exploded from the woods, storming toward them. Surrounding the car like wolves, heart in her throat, Edith realized they weren't the only ones after the truth. Get down! Greg yelled, instinctively shielding her as chaos erupted. Edith ducked, her breath hitching painfully. Her hands shook, desperately wishing for clarity in the chaos. She felt utterly trapped. Eric stepped back, weaving toward the advancing shadows. "Let's not make this messy," he said, his voice dripping with a sickly calm. "The truth can hurt, but it can also set you free. Join us or face the consequences." "What?" Edith shot back, but confusion tangled her thoughts. She had never imagined Eric, the friendly face at the corner store, would reveal himself as part of something this sinister. "Run!" Greg yelled, but before they could act, something horrible happened. A loud shot rang out, echoing through the dark. The world slowed. Edith's breath hitched. She turned to Greg, who froze, eyes wide. "No!" she screamed, as he crumpled forward against the steering wheel, blood pooling beneath him. "Greg!" she cried. Fear turned time to molasses. Eric sneered, standing back as the shadows advanced, looming like a dark curse. "Now do you see?" he whispered, smirking. "You're tangled in a web your mother spun, and there's no escaping it now." As panic clawed at her throat, realization set in. What if everything she believed, every stab of betrayal, was a facade? What if Greg wasn't just an unfaithful husband, but a pawn in a much larger game? The very foundations of her life began to crumble. There was no time. Edith scrambled over to Greg, shaking him as desperation flooded her veins. "Greg, stay with me!" But as she looked up, crying out for help from anyone, shadows danced closer. They were coming, encroaching, like a tidal wave. The truth was a double-edged sword, and now it threatened to cut her down. Everything shifted in that moment, unraveling like a long-held secret. This was just the beginning, and the worst was yet to come. What lay beneath the surface was darker than she imagined, and she had to find out what happened next before it all consumed her. Edith's heart thundered as she crouched in the car, Greg's blood pooling around them. Panic surged like icy daggers through her veins. "Greg, stay with me!" she pleaded, again, shaking his shoulder. But his eyes, once vibrant and warm, were now dim, fluttering between consciousness and darkness. "Damn it!" she snapped, her frustration mingling with fear. Greg's body leaned heavily against the steering wheel, his breath a ragged whisper. She couldn't just sit there paralyzed. She needed to act. Eric stepped closer, the shadows closing in, his smile widening like a predator savoring its prey. "It's a messy affair, isn't it?" He scanned the shadows behind him, his attention torn. "You should have listened, Edith. The consequences are far graver than a simple betrayal." The realization hit her like a punch. You knew all along." She pushed open the passenger door, adrenaline coursing through her. She had to get Greg out, had to drag him to safety. But as she turned, Eric reached out, a hand grasping her wrist like a vice, the pressure sending a jolt through her. "Trust me, you don't want to." "Do that!" His calmness screamed danger, and it twisted something deep within her. In that exact moment, a loud noise shattered the night. A cacophony of laughter and shouting erupted from the tree line. It sliced through the tension like a knife, disorienting them. Shadows blurred into chaos as a group of figures streamed into the scene, their movements fluid and purposeful. "Let her go, Eric!" A woman's voice rang out, clear and fierce. Edith squinted into the darkness. It was Lily, her childhood friend who had vanished abroad years ago. What was she doing here? Confusion clouded Edith's thoughts, fear swallowing her entirely. Without warning, Lily burst through the gathered crowd, pushing past Eric as if he were a mere obstacle. "Edith, I'm so glad!" "I found you." Stunned, Edith stammered. "Lily? Now isn't the time for reunion." Greg's voice cracked into the chaos. "Get away from here!" "Greg," she turned back, worry mounting. He was losing strength. Lily knelt beside them, her face pale under the dim light. "This is bigger than we thought. We're not safe, and the time is running out. You need to understand why." "What do you mean?" Edith shot back, dread curling in her stomach. Did everyone know something she didn't? Why was she always left in the dark? Eric flicked his gaze between them, panic and annoyance dancing in his expression. "You really think you can just—" "Shut up, Eric," Lily snapped, silencing him instantly. "You've had your moments. Now it's my turn." She turned to Edith, urgency spilling from her every pore. "It's about your mother, Edith. The pact, it wasn't just about her pie recipes. She made a deal that put all of us in danger." "What?" Edith felt the ground shift beneath her, swallowed by the gravity of Lily's words. "A deal? What kind of deal?" But before Lily could respond, the shadows erupted around them. Figures emerged, each one jagged and dark, their movements artful and unnerving. They surrounded the clearing, faces obscured but eyes filled with intent. The ominous mood transformed the air, thick, choked with secrets ready to spill. Then, the unthinkable happened. A gunshot cut through the night air again, a crack so jolting that it felt like a thunderclap. The figures took aim, and suddenly a barrage of bullets streaked through the darkness. Screams erupted, splintering the night into chaos. Edith felt a sharp pain slice through her arm, ice-cold nerves exploding in a flash. "No!" She looked down, darkness creeping in, her vision blurring. "Lily!" she called out, desperation clawing at her throat. But Lily fell, crumpling beside her as the weight of the night settled, shadows closing in on all sides. As everything turned to darkness, panic ripped through her heart. What just happened? Who had shot? She wanted answers, rage fueling her, but also fear, the impending dread of secrets hovering just beyond reach. The world spun, and silence wrapped around her like a thick fog, shattering her thoughts. This wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was a war ignited by truths left forgotten. What had she stepped into? What lay ahead in this suffocating darkness? The night was far from over. Edith lay there, the world swirling into a dark haze. Her body felt heavy, and panic thrummed in her veins. The chaos around her faded, drowned by the four walls of pain wrapping around her. Greg's breath was shallow beside her, his lifeblood pooling beneath them. She wanted to scream, wanted to fight against the darkness creeping in, but all she could think was, no, not like this. Suddenly, the shadows shifted. A figure pushed through the crowd, moving with purpose. The air grew dense with tension, a palpable charge that sent a ripple of fear down her spine. Nobody could help in this swirling disaster. Isolated in their own hell, they were not the only ones staring down the barrel of betrayal. "Run, Edith! Get out of here!" Greg gasped, his voice hoarse with pain. But before she could process any of it, another figure, more fleeting and fluid than the rest, darted past, drawing her attention. It was a young woman, someone familiar but strangely different, a ghost from an innocent past. Her face ignited a rush of memories, all flames and warmth. "Lucy?" Edith whispered in disbelief, but the girl didn't stop. Lucy was her best friend from childhood, the one who had disappeared without a trace all those years ago. How could she be here amid this disaster? The girl turned, eyes wild and focused, and for the briefest moment, they locked gazes. "Edith, come with me!" Lucy shouted, her urgency sharper than the gunshot that still echoed in the air. "You have to trust me." Heart racing, Edith felt an urge deep within her, an instinct roaring to life. This was her friend, the girl she thought was gone forever. "What's happening?" Edith managed, the words tangling in her throat. "Why now?" But Lucy was already moving, waving her hands frantically, leading the way into the dark woods behind them. "There's no turning, just come on!" "Edith!" The fear in Greg's voice cut through the chaos, and she hesitated, uncertainty washing over her. Then, crack! Another bullet rang, out, ricocheting off a tree. "Go! I'll hold them off!" Greg insisted, strong but wavering. The weight of the world crashed down on her. "I can't leave you," she cried, staring into his terrified gaze. As if in response, there was a sudden explosion of bright light, blinding, fierce. Edith shielded her eyes, and when she lowered her arm, everything changed. 3 figures emerged from the light, not shadows anymore, but silhouettes of authority. "FBI, everyone freeze!" one shouted, voice booming with authority. The shadows around them faltered, confusion rippling through the crowd. A figure stepped forward, well-built, sharp features, but it was his voice that shattered everything. "Greg, we need to talk!" Edith blinked in disbelief. What the hell is happening? Her chest tightened, every pulse echoing her confusion and anger. "Just do as they say." Greg's voice was urgent, his eyes darting around them. "This isn't what it looks like." But Lucy stepped closer, fixing Edith with a piercing gaze. "Your mother was deep in this. It's time you understood everything." Her heart plummeted. "Everything? What do you mean by everything?" A chill raced through her, dropping like a stone into the pit of her stomach. Lucy's worried eyes said enough. Betrayal ran deeper. The atmosphere shifted, tension thickening with unspoken words. Greg swallowed hard, his face pale. "You never knew, Edith. Your mother was involved. We all are. This isn't just about our families. It's far bigger." The weight of truth hung heavy around them, pulsating. She shook her head, frantic. "No, you're lying." But the darkness chimed in, pulling them all under. "There's a network underneath. Secrets tied into your childhood, Edith," Lucy added, stepping onto the battlefield swarming with memories. "We all paid a price, but you have a choice to make." Edith's mind reeled. Childhood friends, betrayal, secrets, whispers of alliances long buried clawed at her spirit. "Join us or be swept away." The words came cold, heavy with the truth she feared. A single question echoed in her mind. How deep did the rabbit hole go? As the shadows advanced and the FBI stood poised to catch the culprits, everything dragged together. Fear, betrayal, truth. And now, the most shocking truth was just around the corner, waiting. To emerge from the dark. Would she dare to follow? Edith's breath hitched as the FBI agents pushed closer, their expressions a mix of determination and caution. Her heart raced, pounding viciously in her chest. "Why are you here?" she asked, the words spilling out before she could think. "What do you know?" "Stay calm, Edith," the lead agent said, his voice steady but firm. "We're here to protect you. We need to get to the bottom of this." But the words barely registered. All she could focus on was the confusion swirling around her. The night felt heavy, shadows clawing at the edges of her mind. Lily knelt beside Greg, trying to apply pressure to his wound, while keeping one eye on the advancing agents. "He needs help!" she shouted, panic lacing her voice. "Stop!" Eric's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. He stood, arms crossed, eyes icy. "You can't take her away. She's involved in this." "What?" Edith faltered, the breath whooshing from her lungs. "What do you mean?" "Don't play innocent. Your mother's betrayal runs deep," Eric spat, stepping closer, his gaze flicking between Greg and the agents. "She made a deal with people far more dangerous than you can imagine." "Enough!" the lead agent snapped, raising a hand. "We're not here to judge family ties. We just want the truth. Now, is anyone in danger?" Edith's heart raced. Could she trust them? Could she trust Eric? Everything had spiraled out of control in Mir. "Yes," she managed to get out. "We need help. They shot Greg." But before anyone could move, a loud rumble echoed through the night, almost like a thunderclap. The ground trembled beneath them, vibrations shuddering through the air. A flash of light erupted from the tree line, blinding them all momentarily. When the glare faded, a black van screeched into the clearing, tires spinning, kicking up dirt. It came to a halt inches from the chaos. The side door swung open, and two figures stepped out. Edith's breath caught in her throat. Someone even more shocking, another familiar face. Charlie, her high school boyfriend, the one who had broken her heart so many years ago. Their expressions were tense. "We have to get out of here, now!" Megan commanded, a fierce urgency in her voice. "They're coming for you, Edith!" "Who's coming?" Greg murmured, barely able to keep his eyes open. The blood continued to seep from his wound, and panic surged through her. "They know you're here," Megan said, without missing a beat. "It's not just Eric. It goes deeper. You're tied to something much more dangerous than we realized." "What are you talking about?" Edith cried, losing any grip on the chaos surrounding her. Every word threatened to pull her under. "You can't just show up and expect me to understand." "Megan, tell her," Charlie urged, glancing at the FBI agents who were now watching the scene unfold, confusion written all over their faces. Megan took a shaky breath. "It's about Mom. She wasn't just a sweet, innocent woman. She was involved in illegal dealings. I found her journals, Edith. She was hiding things from you. Secret partnerships, betrayals that put our lives in danger. And Greg? He's not the only unfaithful one." Edith's head spun. Shattered pieces of a life she thought she understood, flying around her. "What do you mean?" she whispered, the air growing heavier. "Your history is coded in deception. People she made deals with want to silence you. If they find out you're looking. For the truth!" Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps rose, heavy and deliberate. Shadows moved in the trees, figures advancing with purpose, faces obscured by the darkness. A shiver ran down her spine, dread pooling in her stomach. "Get in the van!" Charlie shouted, urgency slicing through the air. "We don't have time!" No one moved, paralyzed by the weight of revelations. "Go! Now!" Megan insisted, her voice crackly with command. But just as they spun into action, the darkness shifted. The FBI agents raised their weapons, ready to confront whoever approached. "No, you can't!" Edith shouted, horrified. But before she could say another word, a distinct, piercing scream rang out from the shadows, cutting through the tension like icy steel. A familiar voice. A voice she thought she'd never hear again. "Wait, don't shoot!" "Mom?" Edith's heart dropped. Time froze as the figure stepped into the light. Her mother. She looked older, wearier, but alive. "Mom!" Edith cried, disbelief warping her reality. Their eyes locked, a million unspoken words hanging between them. Confusion, anger, love, tangled in the air. But before any explanations could surface, the crowd surged forward, a tidal wave of chaos and revelation. And in that moment of upheaval, Edith understood nothing was as it seemed. Family, betrayal, truth were all lies woven together, waiting for the right moment to unravel. The light dimmed around them. Shadows loomed larger, and the night felt full of questions, begging for answers. What had they all stepped into? What secrets lay beneath the surface, ready to explode? It was a storm, a reckoning, and it was just beginning. "Mom!" Edith breathed, her heart racing, pounding like a wild drum. The world around her started to slow, the chaos fading into a distant hum as her mother stepped forward. This moment felt surreal, electric, like a charged storm, ready to break open and unleash a torrent of rain. Her mother looked different, older and wearier, but the warmth of familiarity radiated from her, pulling Edith forward. "I'm here, honey," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I was so scared you wouldn't find out in time." "Find out what?" Edith felt her legs tremble beneath her. "What's happening? Why are you here? Why now?" But before her mother could answer, the shadows lurking in the trees shifted again. Figures emerged, a swarm of dark silhouettes that charged toward them. The air crackled with tension as the FBI agents reacted, guns raised, shouting commands. Then, everything erupted into chaos. "Get down! Move!" the lead agent yelled, adrenaline fueling his words. A gunshot rang out, slicing through the air. The world blended into a symphony of fear and urgency. "Mom!" Edith shouted, panic rising as her mother stumbled back, fear igniting in her eyes. Greg groaned beside her, the blood still oozing, glistening darkly in the fading light. She turned, desperate to help him, torn between loyalty and confusion. But as she moved, Eric surged forward, grabbing her arm tightly. "You have to come with me! We can't stay here! Let her go!" her mother shouted, shoving against Eric, rage blazing like fire in her eyes. "You have no idea what you're getting into!" In that moment, Lucy darted into the fray, her voice piercing through, urgent. "Forget the past! We need to focus on right now!" But then another figure stepped from the shadows, and everything froze. Edith's breath hitching in her throat. It was Daniel, her estranged father, long thought to be miles away, lost to a different life. He stood there, looking older, his face lined with worry and regret. "Edith," he said, his voice thick with emotions, "it's time for the truth." "Dad?" Her stomach twisted, disbelief washing over her. "What are you doing here? Why did you leave us?" "Because there are things you don't understand. Your mother," he started, but another crash interrupted him. The night erupted with gunfire, more shouting, panic overwhelming everyone. Shadows surged forward, their intentions clear. "You'll regret this," someone shouted. But who exactly was the question hanging thick in the air. "Run!" Greg yelled from the ground, trying to push himself up, but the blood continued to flow. "Get out of here!" Everything spiraled into chaos, and in the midst of it all, Edith felt a sudden sharp pain in her chest, unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was as if someone had reached inside her and pulled out her heart. She gasped, staggering backward. "Lucy, no!" Her mother screamed as she saw the girl collapse, a dark stain spreading on her shirt. The air grew heavy with shock. Lucy lay there, eyes wide, pointing at Eric, trying to warn them. He's one of them." Her voice was a whisper, but the accusation felt like a thunderclap. Edith felt a chill race down her spine, every truth shattering into jagged pieces. "What do you mean?" And just then the world shifted again. Eric, the one she thought she knew, laughed, a low, cruel sound that echoed through the night. "Oh, you still don't get it, do you? It's all a game, and you've all been players without even knowing." In that moment, everything spun back to her, crashing against her. Reality. The stakes were much higher, deeper than any betrayal. Her family's past, their secrets, lurking in shadows, revealing darker truths than she could ever have imagined. Suddenly, as the ground beneath them shifted, the forest seemed to shift, whispering secrets long buried. And with a gasp, Edith realized no one was exactly who they seemed. Who could she trust when the truth felt more dangerous than the lies? She stared wide-eyed at her mother, her father, Greg, Lucy, all of them tangled in something shocking, something life-altering. "What is happening?" she whispered, knowing that the world was about to shatter once and for all. And as she turned to run, the question echoed in her mind. Had she just stepped into a trap, a world of deceit beckoning, and would she be able to unravel it before it consumed her whole? "Mom!" Edith gasped, shock coursing through her. Time felt suspended, the chaos swirling around her as she searched her mother's eyes for answers. Gunshots echoed, shadows loomed, but there she was, the woman who had made her childhood bright, standing there burdened with secrets. "Edith, listen to me." Her mother's voice trembled with urgency. "We don't have much time." "They're coming for all of us." "What are you talking about?" Panic clawed at Edith's throat, choking her words. "What's happening?" "Your father, everything he did, my secrets, they put us all in danger. But we can't let them take you." Tears shimmered in her mother's eyes, her voice cracking. Lily wheezed, clutching her side, blood trickling down her shirt. "Edith, we need to get out of here, now! You have to trust your mother, but you can't stay. They'll hurt you too." The shadows closed in, a wall of encroaching darkness, and fear fluttered Edith's heart. While confusion churned in her mind, instinct kicked in. "You're right. We need to go." Suddenly, the ground trembled again, a low rumble reverberating through their feet. "Get behind the car!" Greg shouted, his strength wavering as he pressed against the vehicle. Time pulsed in frantic beats. Edmund cringed as the FBI agents raised their weapons, their faces unreadable. "We're not playing anymore," the lead agent barked, taking a step forward. "Run, now," Edith shouted as. She turned toward her mother, grabbing her hand, but as the unity of family enveloped them, Eric lunged forward, eyes wild. "No, you can't go with her! Let her go!" Greg pushed forward, his voice fierce despite the pain. "She's not your pawn anymore!" But in that moment, their focus shattered. The other figures, sinister shadows, moved like phantoms in the darkness, closing the circle around them, whispering threats laden with familiar malice. "Enough!" boomed a voice, and in the unexpected chaos, Daniel stepped out from the subsequent shadows, his resentment barely concealed. "You've all been pawns in their game. It's time for the truth." The air thickened with tension. Edith clutched her mother's hand tighter, sharing breaths as they bore witness to the unfolding chaos. "Mom, please!" Edith cried, desperation punctuating her plea. "What does that mean? What lies have you kept hidden?" "Everything," her mother began, straining under the weight of truth. "There was a pact, a dangerous alliance we made to protect our family. I thought it was for the best, but it's turned into a nightmare. They want control." A shriek erupted from behind, slicing through the darkness like glass. "You're all in the way!" one of the assailants yelled. Gunfire erupted again, scorching the air. "Move!" Greg yanked Edith and her mother back, urgency igniting as bullets whizzed past them. The sound of gunfire mixed with terrified shouts, igniting panic. "Over there!" Lily gasped, pointing to a narrow path that led to the woods. "Run! We can hide!" With adrenaline pumping through their veins, the group burst into motion. Edith, her mother, and Lily leading the way, Greg staggering behind, breath ragged with pain, and Daniel fighting against the madness that threatened to consume them. The dark woods enveloped them, branches clawing at their clothes as they fled. Hearts raced, breaths sharp as the echo of pursuit grew fainter. After minutes that felt like hours, they finally emerged into a clearing, the moonlight spilling silver over them. They collapsed, gasping for breath, hearts pounding wildly. "Is everyone okay?" Edith stammered, checking her mother and Lily. Relief washed over her, but was quickly chased away by worry. "They're after us," her mother whispered, eyes darting in the shadows. "We need to get to a safe place." Edith closed her eyes for a moment, suppressing the fear rising within her. "We'll find a way to stop this, together." "Together," Greg echoed, finding a moment of strength to sit up, clutching his wound. "We'll expose the truth. They can't keep running from their past." With their resolve solidified, they pressed on, each step imbued with resolve. As they made their way towards safety, Edith glanced back, heart clenching. The shadows behind them, once familiar, now loomed as unresolved fears. This was a new beginning, the possibility for healing, redemption, and an unfurling of truths buried deep. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it," Edith said, her voice steady. A flicker of hope ignited within her. And as the first light of dawn began to break the horizon, she knew her story wasn't finished. Not yet. Each step would lead them closer to freedom, to reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. "Please," she murmured into the dawn, "let this be our time to shine." This is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe right now to ensure you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this thrilling ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your participation makes all the difference.